everyone is well aware of the most popular spell in D&D, Fireball. But unfortunately, it's not on my list. Look, I get it, the spell's good, it's just too well known. I purposefully ignored popular spells like Fireball or Counterspell because I wanted to provide something more than just spewing the same spells that every other content creator does. Yeah, fine, whatever, keep booing, I get it, but you know what? It's my video, I make the rules, you can't do anything about it, so what you gonna do? Oh shit. Starting off, we have a great spell that honestly I don't hear enough about, and that would be Bigby's Hand. This is a contender for one of my top spells in the entire game. But you might be wondering, why this spell? What makes this spell one of my top contenders in all of 5th edition? Firstly, it's accessible. Being a 5th level spell, full casters can pick this baby up at level 9, so it's much more accessible and available than other more powerful spells. And second, it kinda does it all. Bigby's Hand has incredible combat potential and a bunch of utility and works both in and out of combat. The spell creates a large, shimmering, translucent hand that has its own stats. You cast a spell as an action, and then on your turns thereafter you can use a bonus action to control it with one of 4 possible effects. Clenched Fist, Forceful Hand, Grasping Hand, or Interposing Hand. Now those options are all available in combat. But do you remember earlier when I mentioned that the hand has its own stats? Specifically, I was referring to a strength score of 26, which equates to a +8 bonus to all strength checks the hand makes. Now consider this, the spell itself doesn't specifically state its mode of movement, so it's generally agreed upon that the hand can fly. And when the caster uses their bonus action, they can move the hand 60 feet in any direction and take one of the previously mentioned actions. And on top of that, the hand is surprisingly a hand. Crazy, I know. But what I mean by that is this spell could really do anything that a hand could do, making this spell's only limitation imagination. It could be used to crush enemies, destroy walls, move heavy objects, carry players across ravines, or rip trees out of the ground. This spell is amazing, specifically because it is so open and you could do pretty much anything with it. So if you don't have Bigby's Hand in your spellbook yet, I cannot suggest enough that you add it the first chance you get. Next up on our list, we have a 1st level enchantment spell, Dissonant Whispers. Oh look, here's one now. Oh. They told me to remind you to like and subscribe. Anyways, the spell targets a creature and forces them to make a wisdom saving throw. If they fail, they take 3d6 damage and have to use their reaction to run their full speed away from you. If they succeed, they only take half as much damage and don't need to run. The reason I love this spell is because of the reaction usage. While it might not seem like a lot, taking a creature's reaction can be incredibly useful, but it also has another effect that many don't think about until they experience it. If the target of the spell is in melee with one of your party members and that creature runs away from them, your melee friend gets a free attack of opportunity. So mechanically speaking, each one of your friends close enough to threaten that creature then gets a free attack on top of the 3d6 damage you deal with the spell. And what's more is if the creature is a melee combatant themselves, your party members can get 2 rounds of attacks without being subject to one themselves. If the creature runs its full movement away, your party members simply need to move back 5 feet, and then the creature just has to dash if they want to get back into attack range. Meaning they're not going to have their action to attack because they had to use it to dash that extra 5 feet. Your party members can then move right back into the range if they decide not to do so, and beat them up if the creature was stupid enough to run back into range. The spell can even be used as a defensive ability, buying time for your party to retreat while enemies run in the opposite direction. Is it cheesy? Yeah, sort of. But considering the possibilities of this spell, it would be silly not to at least consider it. So be sure to take a look at Dissonant Whispers before you choose your next 1st level spell. Next up, we have probably the 2nd most popular spell in all of D&D 5e, and that would be the 1st level spell, Find Familiar. Now, yes, I did say that I would try to avoid really popular spells in this video, but this one really just does everything. If you don't already know what the spell does, you need to learn. This spell gives you a little spiritual companion that acts independently of you, but obeys your commands if they are provided. If you've seen our livestream Behold the Script, you might recall Posey's Marzipan, which is a great example of this spell. And for those of us who become personally attached to our imaginary companions, there's a nice little bonus to this spell that technically means they cannot die, since they are a spiritual companion. When the companion dies, or rather drops to 0 hit points, all it does is pop back to a little pocket dimension and waits for you to recall it again by casting the spell again like nothing happened. And if you don't care so much about your imaginary companion, there's more to it. You and your creature have a telepathic link that grants two main benefits. First, you can communicate telepathically with the creature up to 100 feet. And second, you can experience its senses while doing so. Couple this with a potential flying speed depending upon the form that your creature takes, and this makes a great reconnaissance spell. But there's even more than that. While it can't attack in combat, it can do anything else within its capabilities. So things like using an object, taking the help action, are both possibilities to aid you in combat. Not to mention there are some really fun and cool combos that you can pull off with the spell that might have slipped my mind. Man, it sure would be helpful if some really handsome and cool guy went over all of these combos in some video on YouTube. Anyways, if you haven't already, take a look at Find Familiar. I guarantee you're not going to hate it. Next up on our list, we actually have a pair of spells, which I'm counting as one because who cares, it's my video, I make the rules. But that would be the first level spells, Bane and Bless. These are two staples for any spellcaster. Both of them have a similar effect. Well, actually, they kind of both have the opposite effect. Bless adds a d4 to your roll, while Bane subtracts a d4 from enemy rolls. The only difference aside from that is that Bane forces an enemy to make a charisma save to be affected, whereas Bless just happens since you're buffing your allies. Now I know that doesn't sound too amazing, but there are two real reasons that you need to consider the spells. Firstly, both of these spells when they're cast at their base level can target up to 3 creatures. They can also impact more creatures depending upon the higher spell levels you cast it at. Secondly, a d4 doesn't sound like a big difference, but it is so much more impactful than you might initially think. To exemplify this, a d4 adds roughly a 5% to 20% chance of success or failure to any roll affected by this spell, depending upon the number rolled. So yeah, if you don't have Bless or Bane in your spell list, you should definitely reconsider. And finally, we have another amazing spell that plays into my personal preferences big time. I'm actually going to be talking about Dimension Door. Dimension Door is an amazing spell that can be used in so many different ways. The spell teleports the caster and one willing creature up to 500 feet in any direction. You can teleport 500 feet to the west, 500 feet underground, 500 feet in the air, and really the possibilities are endless. Well, I guess they're not really endless because they are limited specifically to 360 degrees around you, but if you ignore that, the possibilities are endless. While a 4th level spell, the ability to teleport 500 feet is so strong. And I know it's difficult to understand how far 500 feet truly is, so to clarify, I have come up with some very nifty comparisons to help visualize. 500 feet is roughly equal to 1.5 football fields, 3.5 passenger airplanes, or 750 bananas all in a row. The choice is up to you. And if that doesn't clear it up, honestly, I don't know what will. It's 750 bananas. What's so hard to understand about that? In all honesty, Dimension Door costs an action to cast, but it's effectively a get-out-of-jail-free card, as you don't need to see the area that you're teleporting to. You can get out of a dangerous situation, literally get out of jail, or just infiltrate a locked building. The possibilities are 360 degrees. The spell also allows you to very specifically set the exact direction and distance down to a degree of the angle and the length of the distance. If you wanted to teleport exactly 420 feet at a 69-degree angle from your current position, you could be that oddly specific. The only negative is that if something is already occupying that space that you're attempting to teleport to, then the spell fails and you take 48 force damage. But considering how specific you can be with the directions, this should almost never occur. So while it seems incredibly simplistic, the versatility and power of this spell really helps it shine amongst others in its category. And that does it for my top 5 must-have spells for any D&D caster. If you liked the video, I have made others you can check out that I linked in the description box below. And if you have any must-have spells, leave a comment below and let me know. I read every comment, almost always reply, and who knows, I might even feature your comment in the next video. Thank you very much for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you on Friday.